Martin, you're a very smart, rational young. You both guys, all you guys are. I mean, you guys are all like brainiacs. So, would it help you get out of your heads if you were more winsome and enchanted, or um, is it just like not my style?
Well, as I referred to last week, I lived through quite a lot of woo, both the good and the bad already. So
Right.
I have a lot of experience on the topic, but I would not know necessarily, or I would not necessarily know where to begin, or yeah, where to begin introducing some of that into the conversation. If I'm honest.
I in the idea of like living not through like the big, well, maybe it is miracles, maybe it is woo. Can I share some of my like life history to like see if this helps kind of round it back and discussing like potentially like leading to like reason and all this? Consider this a randos thing. So I never talked about
Sure.
this
Just
on
hold on 1 second. Gather your
yeah.
thoughts.
Hmm.
Jan God says, Bro casually called us all Satan. LOL. Now who's calling who Satan? Don't call each other names in the chat. If you got a wrench, can use it. Or unless he's talking about Ron, but I don't think Ron was calling everybody Satan. So all right, go Henry.
On the idea of like encountering, I guess, certain things and like you live through good and bad woo. Huh. I don't want to do this. So I was born with like some really, really rare birth defects. It was like splayed open at birth, essentially, like prenatal conditional type stuff. So like it, large intestine, small intestine, stomach, body, etc. is like all like mangled at birth, like before that, out of the womb kind of thing. And so I've lived in and out of the hospital a lot, and I have a particularly like different kind of circumstance living now with certain medical stuff. So I guess I'll share it. I've got a colostomy bag, and I've got like some other extenuating chronic health issues that defined and like will define my existence. And so, one, it's this idea of like this is a miracle, like existence, because the condition in its spectrum, its like severity runs the gambit, and the treatment for it is not consistent and has never historically been. And I've come out on like the better side of it. So I guess that's when you live with like I guess God's providence and like in the working of that. On the one hand, you're like, yeah, there's no way to like. That's why I can't say like God's not real, because you like and have never had that deconstruction of like, yeah, he's always been there. But I think some of that creates. There's not a lot of winsomeness, I think, with that kind of early existence, whether that's the
Mm-hmm.
medical trauma or like the from a young age knowing you're like very different and singled out almost from the beginning. And so getting somewhere with this. For me, with like the woo or experiencing certain expected prayer or not expected prayer, that's really hard.
Mm.
Um, Almost in expecting like worst case scenario all the time. Versus maybe a better outcome. And so like looking and living, trying to live miracle to miracle, living a winsome life would be really hard, if not impossible, for me right now. And just because of that background and upbringing, I don't know, I think that kind of stuff is inherently like life shaping and influences you, and you can't escape that.
Very good.
I think I made a point. Don't think I did.
No, no, no. I think you landed it. That's very good.
Sorry.
Very honest and insightful.
And that all makes dating even harder, and then makes the like expectation for the prayers to be answered more difficult too. So that's the other like angst of that all for this week, which is why it's easier to go play video games and romance fake characters than face reality.
You can do both. They're not mutually exclusive, and it's okay. Yeah.
All right. I can't give myself that grace, so I keep asking for it from other people. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. I have a few thoughts. One is that dating is about discernment. It's about discernment of who the other person is and being discerned and allowing yourself to be fully seen. It's, for lack of a better word, it's when it's done right, it's about vulnerability in how each party would react to the other if they're brought together for life. And one of the most difficult aspects of dating is assessing who someone really is or who someone will be. Because dating occurs under, let's say, ideal circumstances, rose-colored glasses, and it's not. You don't often quickly get a sense of when things are not good, how the person will be. I'll put it that way. And in some ways, the challenges that you will continue to face in your life, Henry, it will make it easier to discern more quickly whether or not the other party is serious. Meaning whether they're serious is like whether they're there for the right reasons. You could say that. And I think also about what came to my mind as you were describing your situation is Michaela Peterson, because PVK has been talking about that. And how people, you really don't know who you are until you encounter a unsolvable adversity. That's really the defining moment of who a person is, when it's actually unsolvable. And I think more and more people do not face the unsolvable thing until very far into their lives, at which point it's often too late or too difficult to make a fundamental pivot in how they're orienting their life. And in some ways, the adversity that you've experienced your entire life has cut through and captured and clarified the things that are most important to you, I would wager. And I've heard you say this before, that you often find yourself feeling like you're a much older person than you actually are. And I'm sure it's in no small part due to that. But that actually is a blessing, because it can help you discern much more quickly who you are, what you want, where you're going, what the purpose of your life is. And I feel like that's basically the extended adolescence of of an age of abundance that, quite frankly, you've never had, judging by what you just said, you've never had an age of abundance. And so, yeah, those are some thoughts. The other thing I'll say is that one commonality that I found in this space, there's the cliche that we're all broken, and we are.
Yeah.
But I think what makes people in this space, in the TLC, unique, in my experience, is that in no small part, the majority of people here, or maybe all the people here, what binds them is the acceptance, the voluntary acceptance of their brokenness, in no small part. Now, the way that they're broken and how they're broken is different amongst every individual. But the voluntary acceptance of brokenness, yeah, that's powerful, and that binds people together.
Could you perhaps briefly elaborate on the voluntary acceptance of brokenness?
So, I had a lot of pride my entire life that I can solve any problem. Smart, capable, and also I can sort of weasel my way out of any situation I don't like and figure it out. And but sooner or later, we all face a problem we can't solve. It might be cancer, it might be the death of a family member, it might be something, it's something that we can't solve. And then once we get to that point, as I see it, it's mostly a Cain and Abel scenario. I really think that Cain and Abel is like the fundamental divide, where God says, if you do well, would you not be accepted? If you do well. So basically, imagine you're Abel all your life, where things just go well and you can figure it out and you could solve it. And then imagine you hit a point where you're Cain, where you're doing the same things and you're used to, having things go well, and then everything, nothing works. It all fails. It all goes down. And so in that scenario where like you're doing all the right things, you could say, or you're doing your best, and it's still failing, what do you do? It's one of two things. The divide is either resentment, blame, like that's it. It's I'm doing all the right things and it's not working, or it's, for lack of a better word, it's grace. It's the allowing yourself to be taught. So it's the question, okay, there is nothing that can be done here other than, let's say, continuing forward, whatever it might be. And then the question is, okay, God, what's next? Like what because my experience has been, whenever that happens, it's always both. Actually, it's always both a teaching moment in building character, you can say. You can only build character through resilience and through adversity. That's the only way to build character. When things are going well, there's no need for character. There's no need for virtue. Things are going well. It's only when things are not going well. So it's a teaching moment, but then also it's when unexpected opportunities open up. Unexpected. So there is a route in my life that opened up that never, I shouldn't say that, but like I've actually tried to go back and imagine how this route could have opened up in my life without the particular adversity in my life that and I don't think it would have opened up. So because I in some ways you got to get to the point where you're like willing to give everything that doesn't matter up, all the things that don't matter, and that's the video games, and that's and Henry, like at 25, man, I was playing a ton of video games. So like, and sometimes I genuinely don't think that video games are treated in our culture as like this second what is it, this substandard or this
Right.
lower form of art or something. It's like you're going to a dogfighting competition. It's like, no, you're not.
If you're not, I would agree with that sentiment that you're making. Yeah.
So in Baldur's Gate 3, I haven't played it, but the reason I haven't played it is because I bet I'd spend like 50 hours on it or 100 hours.
Yeah.
Because everything I've heard about it is that it's on par with like the best storytelling out there.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you think reading a novel is a waste of time, then okay. But men read novels through participating. We actually want to be in the story. We want to.
Yeah. All right. There we go. That's the missing link to that conversation.
Yeah. That's it. So everything in moderation, including stories.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was quite a helpful elaboration, to be honest.
Well done, Neil.
I think it's interesting.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, never mind. Finish.
No. Please go ahead. I was just going.
No, I just the idea like delayed adolescence doesn't exist, and then it does, and others it doesn't. And then this idea of the control, or the idea that there is no control and that there's an unsolvable problem. Love dealing with that one right now. That's so like that's the next step, right? Once you have that, the next question is like, how do you confront that? And I think you already said it. You kind of just like you keep moving forward and stuff. I think it's the hardest thing to do right now, at this point.
You do get some clues though. So for me, one clue is what in my life, in my childhood, provided the most joy. What did I find the most joyful and thing to do? And it actually was video games for me. That was the number one thing. But then if you think of the move from childhood to adulthood, it's in effect it's the move from experiencing the joys that are often created by others, mm-hmm. to then being the one who creates or strives to create or strives to build for others to joy. so some of the best stories I ever read took place in video games. So, and made me really think about things differently. But I do think our childhoods give us clues as to, like, when here's an example: the light of Arendelle, when all other lights go out, like what is, or Harry Potter does that with the Patronus. Like, you got to go back to the memory that gives you the most joy, or whatever it is. Like when all other lights go out, it's like, what is that one thing that you can hold on to? And then being able to cultivate that and develop that as a talent. So as something that can actually help other people. A lot of people do that through music. A lot of people do that through art. Sounds like you do that through teaching in some regards. Yeah. But it's like, what is the thing that really brings you joy? And if you can marry it with something you're good at.
Yeah.
So you marry the thing that gives you joy with the thing that you're good at. That's a dynamic duo. Then you could spend the rest of your life doing it. So, yeah. Sorry, I feel like I'm.
No. I wanted to give it. I keep interrupting people, so I wanted to give a little pause to give everybody a chance to collect their thoughts and jump in if they want to.
I'm loving this. Neil, it has been way too long, dude.
The reason I got on was actually because of you, Ron, because we haven't talked in too long. Yeah.
Dude, it's been a while. This guy. So,
yeah.
So,
I've been watching the house when but I haven't got a chance to talk.
Well, if you guys like, what we can do is I could just put the two of you up and you can have a moment.
Stop. Dude, Parker. Yeah, there.
I can't control this part. What the heck?
Are you guys having admin wars? Are you guys basically like fiddling with
Ron
the same
has lost
switches
admin privileges. He kills my.
Oh wait, watch this.
Video killed the
Parker star.
Get this out of here. Go back to normal. I'm just kidding around.
I was right.
No, you lost admin privileges. You destroyed my stream last time. When you signed off, you shut the whole thing down. You're off. You're out of here, Copperman. Until we sort this out.
It's your fault.
Send you to HR for training. You're just a regular schmo on this channel from now on.
So, and I like having, this is a good mix because I love everything that you said. And like, I'll talk to Henry, and I want your opinion on this, Neil, as well. But I'll say this gently, real gently. I want to remember what you said. You have lowered your expectations for the supernatural. I'm looking at that. Henry, is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now this is the part I would say no, don't do it. And I have some ways to get out of it. Before I got church by faith, it wasn't, I didn't get cleaned up and then go to church. And then I learned about God, and I'm in a charismatic church, and I went to church, and I'm like, okay, this is different. And then I started hearing the first thing that caught my ear. The pastor's sister she had just been diagnosed with a fatal blood disease. She was going to die. And I'm like, dang, she's going to die. And everybody's praying for her. And then a few short weeks later, she comes in bawling, and she's not even that tight of a Christian. She just goes to church. And they're like, what? Her name's Cammie. And they're like, Cammie, what's going on? And she goes, she's just sobbing. She goes, I just got the report back from the doctors. My blood is totally clean. And to be honest with you, it didn't hit me like she was going to die and now she had a miracle. But it was my first, that's something. You know what I mean? And like, Mark, this goes back to why do I have, so what it is I saw something that I saw was legit. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then I started seeing other people. There was a guy with a torn liver. He was an alcoholic or a drug user. And I don't know what a torn liver is, but I guess it's pretty bad. And it was on an outreach. Somebody prayed for him. And he went to the doctor. And he comes back just blah, blah, blah. I had a torn liver. And I'm like, and this guy was not, you could tell he was not churched. But he was like, and I'm like, wow, dude, there's something up with this prayer stuff. Okay. And so and then for me, what I did is I started praying in faith, not for healing, not for anything of myself. I just said, Jesus, I'll be honest, when I came to Christ, I didn't like him. I didn't seriously, whatever, I'm fine. But I was determined to find out what was at the bottom of this thing, to find out what this stuff was all about. And that's what I would suggest for you, is because that's when the stuff happens. When you simply seek his, like, who are you? You got burning bush talk. We got, you killed Ananias and Sapphira just for lying. And I know I'm not lying, but that means you're impressive. And who else is? And then there's so many things in the Old Testament. And there's so many things in our hearts that we have unresolved and that become broken, that can be healed. And it's surprising. And the hardest part is not giving up. The hardest part is simply going, okay, I don't feel anything, but by faith, I'm just going to seek after you. But he is not mocked. Everyone always uses the verse, God is not mocked, usually as punishment. I got news for you. There's payoff there too. He's like, you come at me with a good attitude? Well, Moses, take off your shoes. We're about to have a chat. So here's the thing. Yes, miracles are rare around most folk, but it doesn't mean they don't happen. And it doesn't mean they're not worth asking for. I mean, you don't. And here's the thing, it's what I didn't like, what it was is when you said, I've lowered my expectations. Oh, don't get your hopes up. It's kind of like dude, okay, get your hopes sky high. I got a buddy. Oh, Neil, this is it. I got a Brian O'Donnell, Columbus, Ohio, Encounter Ministries, had a heroin dude die on porch steps. Brian brought him back. So it's.
You said heroin, not harem.
Harem. No, he had a harem. He died in a harem. A happy man. Sorry. But yeah, heroin. So here's my point. It is, man, Henry, like, dude, you're cool. And I'm saying this gently. Dude, that's a lie. Don't let that's not God. You know what does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does.
Okay. Like Satan would love, like, oh, stay in the wheelchair.
Sure.
Stay in your problem. Don't try. And here's the funny thing. If you want to heal, healing is as simple as this. If you want to learn how to heal, this is the secret. You find someone who's sick, some way, in the name of Jesus, be healed. It's on him to do it. And if nothing happens, there's three things that are happening. One, in the moment, you're showing genuine love, concern, which really floors a lot of people, just that you take the time to pray for them. And that's cool. Secondly, I've seen prayers answered not in the moment, but in time, like sowing a seed. You pray and they go away, and then all of a sudden, when you're not around, whammo. And then third, sometimes it happens, they get instantaneously healed. All three are wins. You can't go wrong. It's like video games. You didn't become a master player. You just pick up a controller. You lost a lot. Same thing. If you
the hardest thing is simultaneously trusting the creator while trying your hardest.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if it's grace all the way down, then why even try? It's
right.
he's just gonna raise me up on the last day, right?
Right.
And
yeah, but you got to clean your room.
Well, you do.
What are you thinking?
I kind of want to get off the topic because
there is no topic. We're just chewing because unless Martin has an idea. Martin, you got any thoughts?
Well, I did want to add, the moment you started talking, I did experience a little bit of woo, if I have to be honest, a little bit of, there are then, it's very difficult to explain, of course, but there are these gravity wells that can just pop up when people start talking like
that.
You
too? Oh, yeah. Do you get sucked into it?
I most of the times I try not to get sucked into them. And
dude, no, stop fighting. You gotta no. You're being admonished on the House of Woo right now. At least here, dude.
I don't know about that, because the thing I'm trying to communicate is there's something there being being the locus of the gravity well I'm talking about. So that's of course a confirmation of that. There's something there. There's like there were a lot of elements of resonance of prior experiences, spiritual people I admire, that things they said that more or less were homogeneous in that regard. But especially the part, of course, where you said like God is not to be mocked in a positive sense. You give him a finger, he'll the rest.
Here's the cool thing with God is if you give him an inch, he'll give you a mile.
Yeah, I was giving the Dutch rendition of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can we say that on the air?
Translated is, you give him a finger, he'll take the whole hand.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, and
so to correct Jan God, you're Dutch, not Belgian.
Yes, Frisian, of course. Frisian.
Very
very important detail.
All right.
Because we have a lot of these pseudo Frisians hopping around in this corner, so differences have to be.
Do you have your own flag? I'm just curious.
Yes, of course.
We'll have to put that in your background at some point. You can. So that
I don't know about that.
Not that important.
No, not on the internet, at least.
Not on the internet. Gotcha.
The Dutch are on the Canadian end of the patriotic spectrum.
Okay, fair enough. Keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt.
So, Martin, instead of me freaking out, when you said, and I'm fishing here, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, is it because because it's happened to me. For me,
can you repeat that because you cut out?
oh, okay. And I've got a few different thoughts in my head, and I'll just throw them out there, and you can answer as you see fit. One, when the gravity well, when his presence in some way shows up, is there a reason? You know, usually he shows up, he has a reason. He wants to confirm something, correct something, say something. And I'm just wondering, and you said, God is not mocked. That's when I quoted the scripture. He showed up. And then there's a part of my mind for everyone that's watching. It's like, it's like I like having Neil here and everyone, because it's like Neil and he said that I'm, what is it, the most left? It was the most left brain person, or the most, when we first
No,
met?
you're the most winsome person in the corner.
No,
you're even more winsome than PVK.
No, stop.
Yeah.
No, I will not go against Gandalf. No, Gandalf.
This is the only way to make you less winsome, is by calling you winsome. It's the only way.
Man, you're fighting dirty today, dude.
He's a ninja.
So, yeah, it's not so. Yeah. Where I like it. I can't speak like you. I don't want to put myself down, but I don't think like you guys do, and I see value in it. Like, I've learned a lot, but I also think the woo isn't that difficult. It's not woo.
Oh, Ron, stop. It is. It is for a lot of us.
Neil?
It is difficult.
Well, I have my sense of Ron, getting to know Ron, has been, he's just seen way more than most of us have seen, myself included.
Yeah, it's how we kind of ended up on this subject.
Yeah, and part of it is that you and him, Mark, have more years under your belt,
Pretty much.
That's part of it. But part
dead.
of it is also that that was one crazy Yom Kippur.
I love that.
That's a joke, actually.
That was great. I love that. It took me a second to reel that one in, but wait a second, that was pretty good. That's funny.
Jan is calling you out, Ron.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to face him down at some point.
It did take an experience that previously I would have said is not possible without psychedelic drugs. It did take that experience to break my frame. But that being said, that's not something I encounter frequently. It's so I think of the woo as grace, as something that happens when it needs to happen, and is to be treated with respect, and also I would say fear and trembling.
Yeah.
It's been interesting because as I've been, let's say, less during the most depressed, most difficult time of my life, I would have the most vivid dreams. I would, then I would remember my dreams. And I would also experience like the most wooish experiences. Now, to what extent is the wooish experience, to what extent was it a product of me just being in this state of mind that made me like ultra open to meaningful experience versus like it was really there when I needed it? I don't know. But it happened to a sufficient degree that I was unwilling to dismiss it, and I'm still unwilling to dismiss it.
Right.
And sort of like you'll know it by its fruits, and it's like when I needed it most, I had an experience, and then so I don't go looking for it per se, but like I really, really treat it, how do I say this, with reverence, and for when it's there and it does happen for folks, and when folks are really looking for it. I mean, I know God's there. I know God is going to do his thing. So
Michael, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, a couple of thoughts I wanted to share, the ongoing discussion. So first of all, the woo is obviously a real thing and very real. And like I can think back to one profound experience. I don't know, the most profound personal experience I had. I consider it's when people say like the peace that passes all understanding. This is what I know what that means, because it was a time when I had a whole bunch of things. Everything was going badly. Now that I know more about things, like I was having it was like autistic meltdown or whatever. I think probably like similar like to a panic attack kind of a thing. But usually when this kind of thing happens, it's followed by a period of like several months of just reduced energy, reduced, motivation and all that stuff. And I was starting to I was in my parents' basement and was starting to spiral. And then I was praying or, kind of crying out to God, just in like totally overwhelmed sense. And then it was like a bolt of lightning or whatever. And it was the presence of God. And it was the peace that passes all understanding, because nothing changed about any of the circumstances that I had anxiety about. It was like I had something bad happen with a girl. I was frustrated about a whole bunch of things with my life and where it was going and all that stuff. And instantly, it was none of those circumstances need to change if you have the experience of Christ in your life. So, and that's like a bedrock moment that I hold on to, like knowing that. But it's interesting because,
but also real quick, Michael, one realization I had is we're not meant to do it alone. Like the woo experience often happens alone. But then afterwards, to continue to shoulder it alone, I think is unnecessary. And yeah, that's something that I think that I've learned.
Yeah, well, depends. Sometimes I've had breadcrumbs of the community that I've been looking for most of my life, I would say. So and part of that is the motivation to be a change within the communities that I exist. So what I wanted to bring up with this is that most of my ministry, my adult ministry, and since I was a teenager, really was been within Pentecostal Assemblies of God churches, and there was definitely a high emphasis on seeking the experiential to some degree, but also in things like faith and healings and things like that. And I kind of tend to notice that there is like maybe a crisis that happens a lot with the children of people who come to follow Christ in those circumstances, where, like Ron was saying, if you have a dramatic conversion, and a lot of times it's like your experience of life in Christ is contrasted by something very stark in the absence that preceded it. And so, and so you cling faithfully to that. And like, I look at the way like that God took care of my parents in all of their situations where it was like, they were just trusting God and didn't do a lot of worldly wisdom and planning ahead and things like that. And God's always taking care of them. Not always, amazingly or whatever, abundantly, but sufficiently for sure. And then there was a girl that I know, my wife and I know, that we went to college with. She wrote a book, and it's called Even If He Doesn't. And she grew up like in this like legacy, like third generation of family of like Assemblies of God ministers. All of her brothers and sisters went into the ministry. Her and her husband went into the ministry and all this stuff. And it was kind of like always just riding this high of like faithful, like, yeah, like there's hard times, but God always provides and all these things. And then they kind of had to go through some really challenging just changing assumptions about the complexity of faith and suffering and things like that. And I would say, that kind of ministry was ill-equipped to wrestle with the question of, suffering. Usually it was, if you have a lot of suffering in your life, it's because of something you've done wrong. You don't have enough faith, or you have some kind of a sin you're not aware of, or something like that. And, and the hard thing that her and her husband went through was they had several kids, and then she got pregnant. She was pregnant with twins. And there was something the doctors were concerned about with the development of one of the babies. And basically for the entire term of her pregnancy, every time she went to the doctor, they would say, the best thing would be for you to abort the one child so that the other child can survive. And, they had to go through this thing of, what are we going to do? Because if something, is that true? Is that the choice that we have to make? Like, and if we refuse to do that because we believe it's wrong, and then both babies die, are we responsible for the death of that? Are we responsible for the death of the one child and for the death of both children? If we do nothing. And the spoiler alert is that they persevered, and both babies were eventually delivered. Somewhat early, but within the realm. They were able to make it and survive in the ICU. But the title of her book was from the story of Daniel with the three guys thrown in the fire, and they're saying, God can deliver us from this thing, but even if he doesn't, we are going to serve him, and and it doesn't mean that he's not good. And I think that's the thing, that it's like sometimes the question, we might have to be part of the life. Our life is part of answering that question. What if he doesn't? What if he doesn't come through? And that's part of the story too. And so, I think that's kind of like where all these other traditions and things that we draw on in this corner provide a little bit of the support that maybe is missing from some of the happy clappy. Not that I don't love it, but I
like that. I totally agree with you. Listen, let me make this real clear. A lot of bad is going to happen. A lot of prayers aren't going to happen. And how are you going to roll? Are you going to be cool with it? And my statement is, don't care. Still gonna roll with it. Because all it takes is one victory to go, wait a second. If I got one, that means I can give it to him. He can break it and make two. And if not, it's not that it'll never happen, but maybe not yet. But not never.
What do you think of Jan's idea of saying sometimes you play dice with God and you win?
I love
that. I'm not sure what to think of it.
I love Jan Dog. Love you, bro. Because that's only between me and him. It's not playing dice, but I do understand what he's saying. When
I'm
I
not
pray,
sure, but yeah, explain it to me.
All right. So here's the deal. When I pray, I always expect God. I never go, well, this isn't going to work. But it's not dice. But I could see it from his perspective, though. Because, okay, so if you have always no, you get no. If you have always yes, you get yes. And if you have maybe if you have maybe, then you have dice, because maybe gives you the flip of the coin. And okay, so, and I don't like that. I don't like it because, and I could be really wrong here, but I always believe God for the healing.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not happening, maybe it's not yet. And I never blame the other person for their lack of faith. It's, if I can't raise the dead, it's my fault. It's not the dead's fault. The dead lacked faith. No, it's just I did. So when you have yes or no, I think, and this is, I'll just spit it out, that would make God, and help me out here, guys, like double-minded, or like there's something doesn't seem right if God's playing dice, like he's flipping a coin. That doesn't seem, and I'm not expressing the argument correctly as best that I feel right about it, but it's like God can't be that way. God can't be moved by whim or something, or attitude. This, from what I understand, healing, it's always faith that works through love.
Well, the real question, as I see it, or a way I've been able to relate to it, is, do I trust the way I would write the story better than the way God's going to write the story? And it's like, we're not the storyteller. We're just agents. We're participants. We get to be part of the story. In no small part, we get to choose our role in the story.
Kind of like a video game. I'm just
to
tie it into Henry's thing. I'm just wondering.
So the skeptics would say something like, well, that's proof that we're living in the simulation, right? It's the simulation hypothesis. But I see it the complete opposite way, which is, why are we attracted to video games, or why are we attracted to stories? And it's, these are emulations, or these are copies of the reality of our existence, of the reality of what we experience. And the reason we're attracted to them is because they are emulations of reality, and then, so it is a fundamental leap of faith, and it is somewhat absurd. The situation is somewhat absurd. That and all of life is absurd, when you really think about it. Everything that's occurred to all of us is absolutely ridiculous. It's,
well, from God's point of view, it's, what if it's a video game, but we're AIs within it have agency. See, if God is true intelligence, we're we're a level of created intelligence playing in his within his universe.
So whether or not we call it a video game or a simulation or a universe or a life, the word is not what makes it real. What makes it real is the fact that we are here. We experience the consequences of our own actions and our actions toward every other agent that's in what we call life. And the reason it matters, the reason everything we do matters, is because it actually affects each of us and everyone in this life. It affects everything, matters all the way down. And so,
now, does God give up his authoring? I mean, God. Okay, so then you have the question of how real is our agency?
Yeah, I got a question on that always bothers me. So Moses with God being like, "It's your problem. It's not mine. These are not my people. You can deal with them, and surely you're not going to strike them down in the wilderness, because then you're going to give yourself a bad name." And then God's like, "All right, you're right." And then every translation says God changed his mind, right? And then Abraham with God, or with the angel being like, how about 10 people? You spare the city for the sake of the 10? He's like, yeah, I guess he drops the number, right? It's negotiation with the divine. And I guess my question is, does that work for everybody? Is it only exclusive to select individuals, and then they get to negotiate and everybody else gets to kind of participate in some way? That's my question today. Like all the time, like in prayer and talking about these things. Like, how does that work for us now? We're not patriarchs, right? We're sons and daughters, and agents, of the spirit. But how much negotiation do we have to do? Or is it like
You are losing your audio for some reason, Henry. Is it me or is it on my end, guys?
Is it because I'm like moving away?
Yeah.
I think so.
All right. How about
Okay.
there? Okay.
Yeah.
Can I?
Oh,
Do I
that's
need to
much
repeat
better.
anything I just said?
I think we got it. I think we did.
Okay, cool.
But Sartori, you take it.
It's interesting because I think those stories, especially, it's like, I don't know. It's very interesting. I think how people take the things that God says and then what He does or whatever. Like in these interactions, like I think that we are. I think that he's up for any challenges we want to put it up against him, and challenging his like goodness and stuff like that. And I think there's a one kind of a counter example that I always think of in opposition to the story of Abraham, with Sodom, is King Saul, he spares the king of the Amalekites, and then Samuel's like, you weren't supposed to spare anybody, you were supposed to kill all of them. And it was like, well, that's a horrible thing. Like, why does God say that? But the thing is that that's what God told Saul, I think, knowing that he's going to spare the king. He was perfectly fine with all the killing, except he wanted to spare the king. Him being a king, I think, and being partial to kings. But there's a whole other thing of it, like what would have happened if Saul had decided to say, God, why do we have to kill everyone? Shouldn't we spare the king? Or maybe shouldn't we spare, like, the women and the children or something? He didn't argue with God at all. And so we want to say, like, that God told him to do something that he disobeyed. But we don't know what could have happened. But it's like I don't think that like we should view God as unquestionable or unchallengeable. It's like I think he invites that deeply, for us to wrestle with the things that are difficult about what he's saying or what his word says or things like that. And if we believe that he's just, we might not have a perfect concept of justice, but
when I look at my own experiences in my own life, I can't say that anything I experienced was unfair, or even if I did experience something that's unfair, I can't say that there wasn't opportunity there that I can actually see myself having I'll put it that way. That and sometimes we're unwilling to put ourselves in such difficult circumstances, even if we know it's for our better, because we don't know if we have the faith or the strength or the resilience to make it through. And in fact, in the moment, we probably really doubt ourselves in the moment. So it takes something far beyond us to be able to put ourselves in those circumstances. It's a leap of faith, but you could only have the greatest leap of faith in the most harrowing of circumstances. That's the only opportunity for the greatest heroism, the greatest leap. And it doesn't make it any easier, but this is the reality. And the way I see God working, the way I see God is like, do you trust me? Do you trust me? And not to say that trust is not tested regularly, but yeah. Anyway, I got to roll, but thank you,
Happy
guys.
Bible study.
Henry, I'd love to talk to you sometime, but yeah.
Is a Catholic Bible study really a Bible study, Neil? That's a joke. That's a bad Protestant joke.
Anyway, Neil, if you want to talk, I've got a summer to do it. Sorry, Mark, I didn't mean to.
Sure.
No.
I'm I'm daedalus29z@gmail.com. Anyone can reach out to me, but it's one word, Daedalus. I know that's weird. Daedalus29z@gmail.com. So, but yeah, no,
I
Mark,
think you guys have both emailed me, and I can probably link you. I can probably put you together in an email if you want. What are you going to say,
real
Neil?
quick on Bible studies, maybe you guys can puzzle me this. Like, why does everyone go to Corinthians and the epistles, and I'm the only schmuck quoting the Gospels? I'm the only person in the corner I know who quotes the Gospels way more than the epistles. And I'm like, even the Protestants have this hierarchy thing. You know,
I have this problem with my church.
I mean, it's because they ignored him for a long time, and then just like, the Protestants rediscovered Paul, and then they've honestly probably worn him out at this point. So,
I gotta run. So thank you guys.
God bless, Neil. Thanks for the input. All right.
Neil's cool.
Neil's very cool.
Neil is Catholic, by the way. At least I assumed if he goes to Catholic Bible study, but
He is. He is. He is. Now, did he marry? I never got the story straight. Did he marry into it, or did he just convert and then bring his family over? I don't have to ask. I don't remember the story if I've ever heard it.
I forgot. It's one of those two.
One of those two.
the funny thing is, the reason it is salient to me is because I've never spoken to a Catholic person before.
Oh.
Well, now you have.
Wait, there's more. Michael, are you Orthodox?
No.
I'm sorry.
I'm still a, at least charismatic, if not fully Pentecostal. But
oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, you're welcome, Michael.
I just don't believe in the what is the thing, the that speaking in tongues is the only initial physical evidence of the baptism of the Holy Spirit.
I'd like to represent I'd like to refute all Pentecostal people that believe that. No. Hi, there it is. Gospel of Ron. No, I totally agree with you. So
you mean you've left Pentecostal dogma behind? Is that what you're saying, Ron?
Here, I was going to ask Martin if he's ever heard of this book or knows this guy.
Who's it? I can't see.
Creation Regained by Albert Walters.
Yeah.
Can't say that I had that I.
Well, your ancestors must be very far back, but he's one of these Christian Reformed guys that Phlebas turned me on to that book, and it's really good. But
there are quite a few Walters in the book.
In the book biz,
book writing or editing business for sure.
Well, I think he's in Canada anyway. Yeah.
I'm reading all.
Any other thoughts?
Well, so Henry, and Martin, what do you guys think about this? And also, Michael, dude, love your videos. Just cracking me up, and I'm like, wow, owning it in such a mega way. What's the word? Like, I'm looking at you. You're like, you're bringing it. I'm just saying.
Well, I need a little more people. They're not getting the views that I feel they should. So,
well, I tell you, if you let me, I will. Is there any way I can post all your stuff on my channel?
No. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. Do whatever you want.
No, because that's what I'll do is I'll copy it and I'll start posting your stuff, and I'll do an intro like this is a special report, or you can just do this if I have permission. But yeah, dude, and also send me ones that you think that you want to get out, the ones that, because I'd be more than happy, because you have good stuff. So I'm like, dude, my channel's a bunch of New Agers coming to Christ. They'll look at it, they will crack up.
All right, yeah. Anything you want. I don't know. it's all kind of convoluted. I'm thinking at some point it's going to make more sense when I I got to try to tie the loose ends together or whatever. So,
well, you're doing something big. And also, Brandy wants to know what's the channel. Can you just put it in the link? Just write it in there.
I can't do anything. I'm on my phone, so anything. But it's Sartori Studios now. Is what I retitled my channel.
So, Henry, Martin, what do you think?
I have a lot of thoughts, but some of them are difficult to express. I'm still stewing over the question whether Woo is complicated or simple. And I try to relate it to my gravity well experience.
Yeah.
There it is.
Not sure why it's cut off.
One of the main reasons I find this difficult question is because my personal experience with Woo has been very difficult to navigate, because I think it's because of autism, but I could never relate to the experiences of Woo in any church whatsoever, be it in Reformed circles, evangelical, or more of the exuberant charismatic angle. And it has also always been a source of dissonance, because on the one hand, rationally I'm there, but on the experiential level or on the connecting level, it's all a jumbled mess for me.
Well,
I just wanted to add something, because I was thinking, I didn't, hearing you mention the autism thing, because that's what I figured out like 2 years ago or whatever, about a year and a half, that I was on the spectrum. And I think that something about the autistic experience is that you have these special interests, and that autistic people see these things intellectually. They see more, and they have more wonder in what I would say is aspects of God's creation than the typical person understands or can appreciate. And like, I think in some sense it's a special part of how God designs us, that we're seeing the details of creation that other people are overlooking. And it is very exciting and fun if you get to talk to other people that share those interests or something like that. And that is almost, I don't know, it's not necessarily woo, but I feel like it is very much a worshipful experience, especially if you have that framing of, seeing it as part of God's creation. But
that's a very interesting observation. But it's made a little bit difficult, because you have like all these different kinds of Woo, and of course the desire is for you to be able to categorize it, to fix everything, or to fixate everything, like to be able to tell where everything is. And that I'm still struggling with that tendency, and how far to go along with it, how far to resist it. So it's a whole thought process. Just started with Ron saying, well, Woo is actually quite simple. It's like, yeah, yes, no, yes. No, yeah, the oscillation between those two answers, basically.
Can I throw something in here? Because Woo was an insult, and it was an insult. And these people, I heard it on an interview when there were two smart people talking about seeing things on the surface of Mars, and they were going to send a rover there. And why didn't they go there? Because they were kind of mocking the supernatural and things of that nature. Not that, and they use then they go, and they finally broke character, and they're like, yeah, they were like talking about, they called it Woo. And then what I found out is a lot of stuff in church. Whenever there's the Spirit of God moving, if you talk about miracle signs and wonders, I think it's a slander word, woo. But then I thought, okay, own it. If you want to call it woo, let's go. I got truckloads of it. And I think I had an attitude because I've been healed and so is Mark. And so instead of like trying to correct people online and say, no, this is real and blah, respect them, leave them where they're at in a cool way. But to start talking about it openly, like if you want to talk about Kierkegaard and Heidegger and PVKs, like Peterson and Peugeot, and I like all that stuff. That's fine. But this is a place where in the conversation you can say, yeah, I just hit a gravity well.
I would immediately retort this, to what extent is the gravity well God number 1, and to what extent is it God number 2? To what extent is the runic or agentic?
Okay. So, and I guess my question to you is, was it good?
Am I losing my internet, or is everybody just choppy today? I see people. I see some movement. Who's moving? And okay, Martin, was that a question for Martin?
Yeah, that was for Martin. And if you don't want to answer, that's okay. That's for you to decide. And if you don't have an answer right now, that's cool. I'm sorry to put you on the spot. But
okay, let me take a break. I need to take a break. Think about your answer for a minute if you want to answer. I'm going to share a little Satori from Satori Studios.
I'm gonna go so you can do that.
Well, no, you got to be here for this part, man. This was top notch. This is top notch stuff. By the way, your whole imitation of Norm was so spot on. Obviously, you grew up in the region. You know that accent.
It's better than my fake Texas accent, but yeah.
Yeah, it's good, but you even got the intro to it. This is Texas Yankee Workshop, season 1, episode 1. God, build a portable green screen with Norm Sartori. No, don't do that. That wasn't stupid, YouTube. Hang on a second.
That's not Norm.
That wasn't Norm. All right, here we go. All right, come on. There it is. Let's get it straight. We've got to get it right from the start.
Funding for this program was made possible by annual financial support from viewers like you.
Putting on a one-man wrestling show is no easy task. Fortunately, it's become a lot easier thanks to the invention of modern technology like this smartphone. But some things just really hard to come by, like the right location. But I have a solution for that, and we're going to work on it today in the Texas Yankee Workshop. Hi, I'm the Normal Sartori. You can call me Nom for short. And I'm just a Yankee living down here in Texas, trying to make things work with a little bit of Yankee ingenuity. And today, we're going to be building a portable green screen that we can use to shoot various backdrops for our wrestling program. Now, before we use any power tools, let's talk about shop safety. Be sure to read, understand, and follow all the safety rules that come with your power tools. Knowing how to use your power tools properly will greatly reduce the risk of personal injury. And remember this, there is no more important safety rule than to wear these safety glasses.
To begin, we want to measure the size of the doorway that we're going to be bringing our green screen through. This one's about 79 inches. So I'll cut our height a little shorter at 78. That'll give us plenty of room. We'll mark our board and cut it over at the miter saw. Next, we'll take our cut down 2x4s and we'll rip them down on the table saw. Now, you want to make sure that you measure your fence settings, the front and the back of the blade for an accurate cut. Next, we're going to adjust the height of our blade to make sure that our 2x4s can go through smoothly without any kickbacks. Once we get the height adjusted, we'll begin ripping down our boards. Now you want to make sure that you keep your hands far away from the blade as possible. It's all right if you want to do this in 2 passes. You don't have to get your hands too close. Start ripping the board down from one side. Turn your saw off before flipping it over. And then you can finish the cut on the other side of the board. These rip down 2x4s to make sure that our frame is nice and light and easy to move about. Here we're cutting our width to just under 8 feet for the long sides of the frame. Now we're going to take a piece of scrap 1/2-inch plywood. We'll cut both ends square. Then we're going to change the angle of the blade to 45 degrees. And make a cut on each end before putting the blade back to 0 degrees and cutting our ends square once again. This will leave us with 4 triangles, right-angled triangles that we can use to keep our frame rigid. We're going to lay out our pieces of ripped down 2x4, and we're going to take our plywood gusset and put it on the corner to keep it square. Now we just want to put it in place and then screw it down with a few screws to make sure it stays in place. Now you're going to want to make sure that you use something to check for square and adjust accordingly. Secure all 4 corners of the frame with our plywood gussets. Then we can drive some longer screws in from the side. Now here you can see we've secured the end of our sheet between these 2 pieces ripped down from 2x4s and screwed them together to hold them tight. Now this blue color is good enough.
You got to subscribe
so
to me,
good.
Michael. I've already hit that subscribe button. That was...
That's so
yes.
good.
Thank you.
Your patience and your for those of us who grew up with This Old House videos and Norm's, then the Norm in his Yankee Workshop, you've got it so spot on. It's incredible.
I made this. I mean, I literally make my living from stuff I learned from Norm. So,
So there's like another minute left of this video, so you're gonna have to click on the link to catch the end, like, subscribe, ring that bell. It's good.
yeah, and then everybody should go watch the new Yankee Workshop so you can see who the real Norm
That's true.
is. Because
I think they just, not recently, I think that somebody came online and said, or who's running a channel for all that, said they've uploaded everything, the whole catalog, even some stuff that got lost along the way. And so, yeah, you can see the whole new Yankee Workshop, but you've got it down. I mean, man, you're killing it. And it's actually interesting. So you've impressed everybody, I think, in the audience. So,
yes,
yeah,
there will be.
Bob Ross.
I do have a few more projects. It's it's funny because I originally my first thought was to do like a woodworking YouTube channel, but it's such a pain in the butt because you have to like do everything 3 times and then find
Very
the angles
pain in
and
the
stuff,
butt. Yes.
the camera angles. So I have
Yep.
a couple more projects that I need to make, and so I'm planning to, have Norm work on those. But
Are you setting up? Did you? I mean, that is a ton of work. I don't think people respect how much work goes into putting something like that together, the editing and time. And are you setting up a couple cameras? Do you have a couple phone cameras going, or is this just one thing at a time?
I have 2 phones. So, but one of the things, so I made long ago, I made a wooden tripod but it just, holds the phone straight. So I got to make something to hold it at better angles. But I'll make a video of making that, and then it'll make making those videos a lot easier. So.
Oh my goodness, that is a lot of work. A lot of work. How much time? Just one last question. How much time you figure you put into that 6 minutes and 8 seconds?
I don't know, probably 4 or 5 hours, something like that.
Yeah, it's about right.
Yeah.
That sounds at least.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
When I see your other wrestling videos, dude, I am amazed. I'm serious. Like I know what it takes. So does, I think everybody here has a good idea of video production, and then the quality. And then it's the kayfabe of the kayfabe that you do. I'm like, you're owning it completely. Like, that's it. That is no longer Michael Satori. That's, and then I was listening to the story the first time I find what's this about. And I'm just listening at work and I'm cracking up. It was like the Adam and Eve of wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, this is the, was it wrestling? You made wrestling work. You like, dude, you opened my eyes to wrestling. Like, oh, that's it. Like I always thought it, and don't hate me, people, but I always thought, oh my gosh, this is killing me, And then when I heard your stuff, I'm like, oh, wait a second, this is awesome.
Woman and the Snake.
Yeah, that's it.
The beginning.
Yeah, I have the script for
Once was a
Cain and
CEO
Abel written,
who started.
but I haven't recorded it yet. So.
Well, you open now. I can look at wrestling and go, oh, okay. Now I see what's going on. Now I see why they like it and what I've been missing. And so it was your videos. So
okay, here we're at an impasse. I've got stuff I must get to. I can let this thing run and do a Luke thing, walk away and kind of monitor it and kind of let people in if possible as I see them, if they don't mind sitting in the green room for a while backstage until I find them or have the ability to let them in, or we can do a roundup and call it a night.
I'm going to go because I got stuff I got to do. But
all right, take care, Michael.
Michael, have
Good
a good one,
seeing
dude.
Nice to meet you, Michael.
Roundup? Just want to call it?
What do
Yeah,
you
I gotta-
think,
You guys want
guys?
to keep talking?
I could keep talking, but I should probably be responsible and make dinner before I go to bed.
Yeah, you should take care of yourself. That's fair.
I had pizza before I got on House of Woo, though. It's still kind of sitting there, like,
Okay. Well, pizza will get you by.
not long. My metabolism's really fast.
Yeah, it's you look very fit, trim.
Oh, I'm not at all. It's just a lack of being able to put on much weight. I don't have all my intestinal tract.
Right. So do you want to put on weight?
I can't. I don't really want to. Like,
Oh no,
I had
I'm
to-
just asking you.
Oh no, like I really don't care. I don't care. I'll be 100.
Ron's always looking for an opportunity to pray for somebody. He's on the hunt. He's like the hound of heaven,
Yeah, well,
the Pentecostal kind.
I had a friend who was former Marines, and he's like big into workout culture. And he's like, "We're gonna get you shredded. We're gonna get you buried." And I was like, "Well, I can't bulk up. I don't know what to tell you, bud." Like that was the first problem. And he really tried. So I tried to do it. I tried to drink all like the protein stuff, and it just hurt my stomach really bad.
I'd say. So, would you mind if I did a quick prayer for you for healing?
Sure. I don't. Okay.
No, it's
Yeah.
not about your expectation, and I'll Lord, in the name of Jesus for Henry, Father, by the whipping you received, we declare healing for Henry now. What you've done in the past, I pray you do again now and in the future for Henry. Father, that by your stripes he's healed. And I thank you for this, Lord, in restoration for him. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I've seen people healed of just about everything. And so yours is on the list.
It's not so much healing as it's, I think, just that what it is can be made of use. It's like, I appreciate it. It's irrevocable what it is, the treatment and the treatment stuff, but I appreciate it.
Okay. Just thanks for letting me pray.
I appreciate it. I don't mean to quench the spirit. I'm sorry.
No, you're not. Just the opposite. I realize I fight a lot, Mark, or like must heal. Not, like I need to just back off. Just let it be. So Martin, what do you think?
Okay, Ron.
I appreciate your fighting spirit, I suppose, and since I've seen quite some weird healings as well, including regrowing of entire intestine tracts. So yeah, is anything too crazy?
Right.
Well, of course, then I think again, can autism be healed? I'm not sure.
Well, now, and here's the thing, and I'm not gonna.
You just threw red meat out to him, Martin. I just hope you know. just.
No, Martin. The answer is yes. I know one guy who's already been healed, and so the answer is yes. And I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to stretch this out. But if he can heal this, if he can raise the dead, is death lesser than autism? And is autism a name that
Father Almighty?
Sorry about
so
that.
anyhow,
I hit the wrong
my
button.
point is this.
All right, I hit a mute by accident. Sorry, guys.
No, I was getting musicked out.
Yeah, I was saying so. Well, let's
And now we're closing. I'm not done. So anyhow,
do you want to know the funny thing, Ron? I think that death is more easily cured than autism. That's my honest take.
And I respect that, but the fact that, the question is, I'm getting lit up. So all right, work on this, because is there anything God can't heal? That's the best. I think the simplest.
Yeah, and I think this is more a conceptualization question. Sure. It is a question of whether autism is something to be healed. That's a very difficult question. Okay. I think, especially because it's really different person by person, and like Michael also shared, like healing autism would also almost inevitably revoke all the positive trade-offs it would have, basically.
Yeah, you're allowed to ask God to tailor make a prayer. Like, hey, listen, okay, this is what I would like. Because Jesus actually said, what do you want? When he asked someone was blind, and he goes, what do you want? I don't think it was like, what do you want? But it's more like, what do you want? So I would like to change. And because I will say this, when I came to God, I had fried my mind on acid. I had damaged my mind permanently. So maybe here's the thing, okay, I need to be honest. I don't know if mine's healed, but I damaged my mind on acid. I don't know if my mind would have regenerated, but I felt like I was up a creek. I didn't feel like I had any hope at all. He healed my mind. And if he can heal, the mind is just part of the body. It's not something bigger and beyond a foot or a heart that can be healed. It's just it's just a machine. You know, I don't want to say machine, but Mark, am I saying this right? It's just, he made the whole body, top to bottom. If there's not one part of it that is more difficult than another to be healed. I think that's what I'm trying to say for God. Maybe in our minds, just because it's personal. And I get that. Because when it's you, you're like, man, I got a bigger problem than everything else. But that's maybe a lie that the enemy would like everyone to believe. My problem, everything except my problem, is easy for God. But really, maybe it's just because it's my problem, I see it clearer or closer than anyone else's. So I have easier faith for them than for myself.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We'll hang
But at
around
least-
you until we catch some of it.
What's that?
We'll just hang around you until we catch.
It's already,
some of what you got.
it's been getting flicked like a booger since it started because Martin already had something happen. I know. Henry, do you like that? That made you.
I don't know if I like that. I think it's
It was gross. I did that on purpose. But sorry. But all kidding aside, faith is it can be imparted, it can be taught, and so it can be shared. And then you just kind of muse on it and
Well, nothing's static.
right.
Certainly we aren't. So you will grow, you can grow into it, you can grow away from it. I mean, but generally speaking, I think we regardless of what we think is happening, I think we tend to be like plants, and we do turn towards the sun, towards the light, even when our instincts are to go otherwise. So give yourself grace to doubt, because in time God will come in and surprise you. That's my experience anyway. You can't make yourself be something you're not. It's best to just be who you are before God, and then keep putting one foot in front of the other and see what wonders he works.
Yeah. Hope. Curiosity. I like
Faith,
that.
hope, and love. Those are the things that last.
Yeah.
All right, I'm closing it, guys. I got to go.
Yep.
I will play out some music, and thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it. Both of you being so honest and participating with us. You're always welcome. Ron, as usual, my pal. Cheers.
Wow.
Guys, it's been a blast.
It's been real.
Yeah. And thank you for hosting, of course.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure. My pleasure. All right. Let's see. What are we going to do? We want some bluegrass. Or we want some head banging music where we
should do some
stomping on the
bluegrass.
devil. Bluegrass. Let's do bluegrass. All right. Here it goes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to play this at church. Hi, y'all. You need a healing? Come on down. Friendly Rounds Wholesale Discount House of Redemption. God is going to heal you with that. Hi there. I represent Mark Pike.
Blessed is the
This is
one
Mark Silver.
who does not walk in step with the wicked or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. action.